Hello everyone, this is Nishant Kanikaram and topic is reverse engineering of UML sequence diagram. Coming to the introduction, reverse engineering is done statistically by analyzing the system code or can also be done dynamically by running the program and executing the traces to extract the sequence diagram. Reverse engineering can be used to convert one language to another. Example, a source code is to be converted to C++. When using UML, the class, the sequence, the state chart can be all regenerated partially. Coming to methodology. The methodology of reverse engineering consists of some of the high-level models that help to understand the existing software system better. There are usually 4 different methods in UML sequence diagram, which are extracting the system values from the source code, tracing the values and filtering, tracing transformation of in color pattern nets to extract UML diagram. Coming to of these 4 methods, where the source code is went to the extracting system entries, where then it is sent to the running application, where the traces are collected and filtering is done, then it is sent for incremental extraction of CPN, then the sequence diagram is generated. Coming to the each method, the first method, extracting of system values from the source code. In this method we are using a static analysis because dynamic analysis would require the system expert. This method consists of reading the source code and building the CFG. By analyzing the condition in CFG, the input values will be identified and the identified input values will be used and grouped for different uses in the system. Next, second method, tracing the values and filtering. This method is all about using dynamic analysis, which is performed using execution traces. The behavior of the system depends upon the environment data entry, which means the values are generated by using previously generated values. As one execution system will not be enough to identify all the different system behaviors, we will have to run the input several times in order to generate the traces, and the traces which are not interested are removed, and the traces which are interested are kept aside. Tracing transformation. Coming to the third method, tracing transformation in color pattern nets. This is one of the main method which deals with analysis of traces. One of the most important tasks of the reverse engineering is to analyze multiple execution traces and to identify which is common and invocation methods in input traces. A color pattern net is usually generated by considering an algorithm that takes several execution traces as input. The algorithm first scans all the traces line by line, then each line is checked if it is new. Then the new line is placed and the new place is created for the new line. The places that has the line are same color. And the step is to extract the UML diagram. In this method, we generate and build the UML behavior model using the transformation rules. Here is one of the example for the UML behavior model. And coming to non-distributed systems. Non-distributed systems are like dynamic analysis. Dynamic analysis work on the different criteria. There are some criteria mentioned here. Granularity of analysis at the class of object level. It is not possible to identify the different behaviors of different objects of the same class in the same level. The memory address of the object is retrieved that are usually used in interaction diagram. The objects are identified by using numbers, though they are not determined how they are obtained. Next, strategy used to retrieve dynamic information. These criteria includes the source code instrumentation, the instrumentation of virtual machine, and use of customized debugger. Target language. This is the input on instrumentation technology that is used. It does not affect any fundamental principles. Next, coming to the technique used to identify patterns of execution. This technique that is used to identify different sequence method calls that repeat in the execution trace. Coming to the method produced. There are different methods produced. There are 3 different models produced. There are message sequence charts, sequence diagram, and collaboration diagram. Coming to the execution traces of object-oriented systems. Performing dynamic analysis of an object-oriented system starts by collecting an execution trace for its execution. An execution trace is defined as a sequence of method invocations. In the following, we formally define method of invocation and traces. Coming to the definition 1, method invocation. A method invocation is a triplet. It consists of three methodologies, where caller, method, and caller. Caller is a caller object expressed in the form of object class. Method is invoked method of caller object expressed in the form of method name. Caller is the caller object expressed in the form of object class. Coming to the definition 2, equivalence between method invocations. The, the method invocations, invocation 1, invocation 2, which are all equivalent if and only they are equivalent if and only if the two objects of caller 1 and caller 2 are equivalent. Two objects are equivalent if their instances of the same class are created. Method 1 and method 2 concern the same method and they have the same signature. Caller 1 and caller 2 are two equivalent objects. To define equivalence between the method invocation in our approach, we implement in the trace collection step described below a component collecting all the invocations of constructor is all execution traces. This allows us to check equivalence between the object using the rule defined in definition of above. Coming to the definition 3, trace. A trace is the sequence of method of invocations. And next one, coming to the overview. The overview of the sequence diagram, here it is shown where the execution traces, each execution traces, the execution traces are collected, then the traces are collected into the trace collection, and then the traces are merged, where the merged traces come to the merged LTS, and from the merged LTS it goes to the sequence diagram extraction, and where there is the extracted sequence diagram. To understanding distributed systems. Static analysis. This technique is mainly used to refer the same runtime object when two different call sites do or do not just one call site. The main analysis of the source code is to analyze various objects involved in interaction process. And coming to the comparison between the static and dynamic analysis. Both static and dynamic analysis have several advantages and drawbacks. The dynamic approach can actually interrupt with the object precisely, but the accuracy of the static analysis is a very powerful one. The accuracy of the dynamic analysis depends upon the inputs that are being used to execute the system, whereas the static analysis depends on the complete picture on what happens in the runtime. Most of the times, dynamic analysis relies on managing of several traces. To the conclusion, in this presentation, we have discussed the various reverse engineering methodologies along with two different analyses, the static and the dynamic. One of the main aim of the reverse engineering is to design a model that could be developed from the existing software system.